By the way, me and Dana, Johnny, there's a talk that he was, I guess he was going over it to upload it. And he said in the talk, there's something that Glenn said that relates to what your situation about you being in charge or something. And I think it was something like 14 years. Did he tell you that?
What did he tell? He told me that it was creation's promise that when this is all over, I mean, all this stuff that's been going on, that I would get back at the farm. And he said, he started telling me in October. He said, actually even said something last summer to me. It was like June or July. He started deferring to me about posts on the site. And I said, well, what do you want me to do, Glenn? What do you want this posted? He said, it's up to you. He started doing that. And then he told me in October, you're in charge now. And then he told me, like, in November, after he was in the hospital, the seller counting on you because, you're in charge. And I didn't know, what exactly he meant in that way, because, I mean, there was a part of me that knew how sick he was, of course, and it wasn't going well. I knew. And, so part of me is just kind of talking to creation and saying, please end this suffering for him because he's in such pain and he's so sick. Where they've damaged him beyond repair. It's just gone too far, too long. And the other part of me is saying, hoping that he can get out of the hospital and go back and maybe get better. So, and then I believe that he knew, but I don't know how advanced he knew. And he didn't want to tell me. That's apparent at this point. And so I don't know what he's about 14 years. The 14 years was that we would have 14 years together on the farm. And that was a promise. So the only thing that I can think of is that since he is the head of the staff, but they don't tell him everything while he's still, here and not knowing all the information, of which he's not going to find out until after he's dead. Then he'd find out everything, but they don't want him. They're not going to tell him everything when he's here. It's like a need-to-know basis kind of thing. That if the cell appears and wants, property because it is a portal, then Glenn will do the same, and that's how I see him. So things that have to be done there, somebody has to tell me so I can tell them, and I think that's what it is. So, there are projects that have to go on there, and there are specific directions, specific instructions, specific things that have to be done in a certain way in certain places on that property, and I don't know what they are. So it means that Glenn will have to tell me. And so that's all I know, but go ahead and tell me what you found.
But Dana, I didn't listen to the talk recently, but Dana could probably tell you because he was listening to it. I don't know if you want to explain that, Dana.
Well, I'd like to know which one it was.
It was a talk. It was a talk. Who killed Glen Kealey? Do you remember that talk? A long time ago.
I knew that there's a book that's supposed to come out.
Yeah, that was mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah, after the Lou.
Oh, it was after the Lou. Oh, okay.
Either it's going to be called Who Killed Glen Kealey or Who Killed America. I don't know which it's going to be called.
Now, who was the people who would be releasing that book?
I'm not sure. I heard Japan. Somebody there. I'm not sure, though. And so I don't... That one I'm not sure. And I know that Arthur had something to do with that. And, of course, Arthur's dad. He was murdered. So I don't know now. And I had heard something between Japan and Latvia, and that Latvia had failed the test. So I thought it was Japan. I'm not sure. I know that it's out there waiting to be put to the press. I just don't know who's doing it. So I don't know what it's going to be called.
Hello? Who's there right now? Who's talking?
Who is this?
It's me again, remember?
Me again, remember?
Musa from the other talk?
Oh, yeah. Well,
okay.
This is Jennifer.
Pardon?
This is Jennifer.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Dana.
So, Jared is there.
Yeah, it's me, Jennifer, Irvin, and Dana.
I say again, I forgot the last name. You, Jennifer, Dana, me, and who else?
And Irvin.
Yeah, and me. Yeah.
Who is this?
It's Irfan.
Just listen to the chat and people are going to tell you.
Okay. Okay.
Jenny, if you are your windows up?
Right now, I'm in the car and I'm on the freeway going back. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like this for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay.
I can't do anything about that because I have to return. Then I'll be out of the car. Then I'll be going into a parking structure. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah. Obviously,
Honda Civics don't have really great, and that is something they don't have. Is you can hear outside noise in not Honda Civic, I'm not Honda Fit. Yeah. Not really screening out noise from the outside.
I mean, right now it doesn't sound bad, but just like a minute ago, it sounded like you just heard a lot of wind. I'm not sure if it was you or somebody else, but I'm assuming it might be only you. I don't know. It might be.
I'm likely suspect for that.
Cool. Yeah, because right now I don't hear anything. Even when you're talking, like the noise is not like crazy. It's not crazy. It's not. But just before I heard, I don't know if it was. I don't know. Anyway, it's good now. So, Dana, you're on.
I'm here. So I found the part in the talk where he's mentioning it. So I guess maybe when he's driving, I'll play it so you can hear it better.
Yeah, you can mute your phone.
Huh?
Right? You can mute your phone.
You want me to mute my phone?
Yeah, like unless I guess if you're gonna say something, unmute it. But it was like it was really loud before I couldn't hear anything.
Okay. I just won't be there for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. So, what were you saying, Dana? Dana?
I said I found the part where, I mean, I could play it if you want to hear that part that you were talking about. I'm assuming you were talking about that, what we talked about the other day. Because I just joined it.
I mean, you could
talk about Jennifer, right?
You could just misrelate what you heard.
Let me just listen to it one more time. Hold on.
Oh, you don't remember it?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. It just got quiet, but I thought I was still okay. Wait, never mind. Just is her phone like in the wind or blowing or something?
My phone?
No, her phone.
Yeah, she said she was driving.
Oh, okay.
My phone has been on mute. I just unmuted it to say this.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, Arfin, I never spoke to you before. What did you just found, how long did you know about this stuff?
Oh, like since 2014. I don't know. Somebody gave me like all your talk shows from like ages ago, and I've just been listening to it for years. I didn't know this was like a real, like an ongoing thing. And I ran into your channel as well, so I saw like the Glen Kealey workshop videos, and then just started to do some readings. But I wasn't really that into it until like halfway through last year, where I started having time to read more into it. Yeah.
Oh. If you said you found somebody gave you the files, I'm thinking that was probably Mike. And those talks are probably a lot of the older ones, right? From like 2013 and 14.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot there's a lot of other ones. I don't know if I sent you that from like onwards from to all the way to last year.
Oh no, I don't have those ones. I just got the really old ones. Yeah.
Oh, so there's a lot you probably didn't hear. But that's what me and Dana have been working on uploading everything onto YouTube, because that used to be the talk was on the blog, right? We used to have, there was a link or one of those like one of those buttons you can encode into a web page, and you just press the button, but apparently the talk shoe made it stop working, so people will go to the blog, it wouldn't connect them. And TalkShoe updated their website, and from what it looks like from 2015. After 2015, they deleted everything past before 2015. So there's a lot. There's I guess there's gaps and stuff for people who are just finding stuff. So that's probably why I decided to put everything on YouTube. And I don't know if you probably just found my main YouTube channel, but on that channel, there's like a link, as like they say, recommended channels. And it's called Research in Motion, and that's the channel where I'm basically uploading everything. And eventually,
I found that one.
And basically, I upload everything to the main one, but it takes time because of files everywhere.
Yeah, basically, you just go to if you go to the YouTube and you type in Glen Kealey and you sort by upload date, you'll see all the most recent ones that we've been adding over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I saw a few.
Yeah. So just subscribe to those two channels.
You're fun.
Yeah.
Are you like British, like, or something?
No, I'm not British. No, I'm
Why not?
from
Your
Australia.
accent. Okay, yeah, I just thought. So, what's your like background though? Like, if you don't mind disclosing.
My background Persian or from Iran.
Irfan sounds like a Muslim name, so I thought I figured I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Persian name.
Well, no, like it's not like from the Muslim world, so I thought like it's. I don't know. It's fine. Okay. Were you Muslim or something?
No. It's Iran is a Muslim country. That's where I was born. But like I'm not Muslim.
No, but like were you like as a Muslim or are you Zoroastrian?
No. I don't believe in religion.
I thought you I thought you were Zoroastrian. Okay. Jared, I just thought you were Zoroastrian. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So you speaking of Australia, I guess you lived there like basically your whole life, right? And
yeah, basically, so I was born like in Iran and then moved here when I was like 7, and I've just been here ever since. Yeah.
Oh wow, you must have in perspective then. Something.
Yeah, been interesting.
So I know, like when I look at like Australia on the news and the media, like it seems like it's pretty crazy. Like as far as like with the political correctness and stuff, it seems like they're like a leader in that area.
Come here, sweetie. All right. Come on, sweetie. Come here, baby. Come on.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy here, especially with like the bushfires. I don't know if you heard. That was pretty crazy.
What's what's going on with that? Like that? Because it seems like I'm not just from what I'm seeing. Like on the one hand, it seems like wow, it's like a big huge fire, but other people are saying that it's not as crazy as the media is making it sound. It seemed like they were using it for like a political agenda. That's what it seemed like.
So from what I read was the government cut the funding because we have like firefighters that do like burnings and stuff, so like controlled burning, so the whole thing doesn't burn down. But they cut their funding by like 40 million before summer. So they weren't prepared when it broke out to actually stop it, so it spread everywhere. And it is pretty crazy. But then I think, they were using it as a ploy to like raise funds for other things and potentially like build cities where the fires were in the future. But I don't know, how true that is.
Oh, so I heard that it was partly people who were like there was a criminal element to it, and partly it was like different types of people lighting it or whatever. And it happened like every year that fires are lit.
Yeah, so they usually do controlled burnings. They do like small burnings, so just to control like how much of like the I don't know how to explain it, like the dry leaves and stuff. They control the burning so it doesn't all pile up and burn at once, if that makes sense.
Oh, Jenny, does that happen in California? Do they do that same type of thing?
Some places, but there's been so much rain here that it's way overgrown here. And in California, it was always normal to have, rain. And there are some rain, but then for things to burn. And then they stop that from happening. So then you have these huge fires. But what's also going on here is then they've had just about ever. So they have a huge overgrowth of brush that dries and burns. And the other thing is that people here, they keep building houses in places they should, like up against cliffs on the ocean, up on mountainside, and then they plant all these trees, and especially eucalyptus trees, which burn like crazy. And decides to chaparral and brush, so he hits fires. And we have people here that cause fires. And we have, they're blaming it on electric companies. PG&E up in Northern California. I think they are now, the governor here, who is a total Democrat, bureaucrat, that the state of California should take over the PG&E. Of course, that shades of Ontario Hydro. Same deal. But California's connected to Ontario, Canada, so go figure. So that we have a lot of factors, going on, and I don't. This climate change business to me is a bunch of baloney, and it's more about precession of the equinoxes, and they knew this kind of changes would come up, and they've got billionaires that are glad to help it along, and then we get to blame the everyday people and make them feel guilty. So that's what I know about
it. Yeah, just as for sound quality, Jenny, just be mindful. Oh wow, that's painful. They just be mindful of the noise you're making because your microphone's picking up everything you're doing right now.
Okay, well,
So,
I have to walk to the door, and I have to go turn off the sports radio for the cats now. That one's got to come up because sports is quarter-into. Okay, that's all.
So I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna make noise, just press the mute button, and it cancels out. Okay. So, yeah. So Dana, you wanna share that piece of information?
Sorry, what was that?
Because you want to share that information?
I mean, I'd rather just play it because he says it better. And then I guess anyone who's not talking should mute the phone.
Yeah, because I hear somebody typing like crazy right now.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay.
I'm just gonna mute everybody and whatever. Hold on, I'll just mute this. Okay.
I'm gonna play for a minute.
We're here to accomplish. My job will at one stage be to leave here and set up all of the trials. Jennifer is to stay behind for a while. The number of years, 14, seems to be the number that after I leave, physically, she remains behind to lead the board of directors and all of the people who did not participate in ruining this universe, changing the speed of its expansion to a point where it could not stop in 2008 at the place where it was supposed to, and then transition to a crunch side where all the people who did nothing to hurt the life on this planet are waiting.
That's it?
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna play. But that's in fuck, I don't want to be less, I want to be more, at around 50 minutes exactly. For anyone who wants to hear the rest of it.
I thought it was going into something about 14 years, and
he said after he leaves here physically for 14 years, Jennifer has to stay behind to deal with the board of directors.
I knew about that, but I thought that it's 14 years. When was that one recorded?
I want to say might be like around the 2014 time.
The I don't want to be less, I want to be more. That title.
Yeah.
That's 20. I have it down as 2014.
Okay, because what I understood was he would be around for 14 years. Because I've heard it so often. And on the farm. So I don't know. But he said he would leave after that for the trials. And that I would still be around after that for some time. And that me and the 13 and I was told you won't know who the 13 are really. You'll think you might know. But there'll be more people than that there. That you and the 13 would be at some point taken off, from there. You don't die, you go. You leave there and you leave with the cats. They go too. And there would be basically a flying saucer type ship that would land. That's what you'll leave on. And that comes a flying saucer type craft.
Well, like Neanderthals flying saucers?
Yeah, but not them.
Wow,
that's what you told me. And you will leave that way, and you're going to go join everyone else. You just don't physically die.
Oh, he's talking about you.
You and me and 13 other people, 100 cats. But there would be 13 people that would go on, choose to stay behind. They have made a choice to stay until after that time, until it all ends. And they would carry on from that time. So you see, I do not know when any of this actually, takes place. Because Glen has been told a little. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
And that is, Back wants to be called.
Oh, I gave him the information. Yeah, I got it.
So this is where we come to the part of the thing that we don't know. It's like page 87. I don't know if Glenn ever talked to you about page 87.
He probably said I don't remember that though. I don't remember page 87.
It was in regards to a movie, and I can't remember what the movie was about. A bunch of people that went on a deep sea diving thing, and there was some kind of thing, they were an anomaly they were investigating at the bottom of the ocean.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they kept referring to page 87. And somehow Glenn had connected that to the Nautilus story of the Nautilus space, or the Nautilus Sea submarine, because I think that was something in there, and that they kept, all these people kept mentioning page 87. And Glenn said that page 87 is, when they reference page 87, it's about, you don't know what's going to happen after that. I hope I'm getting that one right, but that's what I remember about his comment about the movie. So that has to be around 2013, somewhere in there, 2013 or 14. So the reality is that all I can tell you is what I know. And then all you can relay to me is what you know. And
what's all supposed to give, what we know. And this is why this 13 is like where I come to the understanding that why it's very important. I've been able to, contact Glenn over the years, and I've learned some things. There's a lot of information. And, I met you, Dana, and Glenn was, we were lucky enough to understand what the premise was. And now it's our responsibility, because we know, and we have to put the information out there so other people understand. I know I can't force anybody to understand, but I feel like I have to facilitate that, like get the information out there, and people have to learn this. Because if enough people don't understand this, like, and that ties into with Robert Lanza, and knowing that view of reality, that big picture, people have to know this. Because if enough people don't know it, then the change can't happen. Because, for creation, for like a universe to change, right? It was 13, and a world is 3 people, right? So 13 is important. So enough people have to know, and these people could be, and Glenn was right. They do identify themselves. These are people who just show up out of nowhere, and they may not even know, what role they have to play, but they just show themselves. But yeah, this is very important. That's all I've been thinking about this whole, for like the last 2 weeks. That's all I've been thinking about is this. This is very, very important, because if people don't know, then we're screwed. And like you said, that ties exactly to what you were saying. Coming back to this, it's worse when you come back to it. It's worse than it is now. That's hell. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to come back here again. And Glenn told me, if you don't do what has to be done, you'll end up coming back another time, and that'll be, who knows, 100 years from now, 200, 300, 400, 500.
Yep, and all of us, we'll all be waiting, because
that would be down in the southern hemisphere, not even this hemisphere.
Yep.
And that would be when everyone's even more genetically engineered, and it's more weird and more awful. And I just don't want to come back here again.
Because all of us who've been paying attention, we see where it's going, you know. I mean, if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, to listen, like, I see where it's going, and I see how the massive changes, you know, under the guise of whatever they want to word it. But I see that whole picture that Glenn talked about. We went over and over for years with the third kind, the third gender. Now, how do they do it in our world? They say, well, it's a bathroom thing. They link it to bathrooms, which is the loo. And they keep, and you know, and rights and all this stuff. And we see that women were discarded. And now men are discarded. That's something that's very obvious on the surface. Everyone can see that men are being discarded, and they're being replaced with, and to have power in the new rules they have is you have to be some type of transgender or something like that to have power in the world. Or if you're a female, Glenn mentioned that women are being told if they behave like men, that's when they have power.
Well,
so
the hearing goes on. As it all goes on, then the men will start disappearing. And you don't know what's going to be here in 500 years. Maybe no men.
Mm-hmm. No women.
I do have a question, though. Hello?
Yeah.
We're listening.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, like, say if this doesn't happen because our universe is, like, expanding really, really fast, do you think it's gonna, like, there's two ways you can end this. You can do, like, the big freeze or the big rip. So, I mean, I know it's gonna get weird in the future, but I think the universe might just collapse. Like, the big rip is gonna be, like, everything will be so far apart that, like, you know, our atoms will never be together or something like that. Or in the big freeze, it's just, you'll be very, very cold that life can't exist, something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, the universe keeps expanding until it can't function as a universe anymore. And that's something, that expansion where it can't function as a universe anymore, that's not something you're going to see in your lifetime. That's something that takes a really long time. But the people who are,
hundreds, thousands, or millions of years.
And the people who are in control, they're not thinking in our lifetime. These people are thinking, their actions all about, like, ahead. They're planning ahead. But they're, like, really stupid because, I mean, there's a lot of mistakes were made, you know, like, for one, Neanderthaler in the beginning didn't know that he would be part of the machine that they want to put out in the universe. You know, and yeah, it won't be like.
They're gonna send out their product, which will be ready in 1,000 years after this northern hemisphere ends. There's 1,000 more years of the southern hemisphere. At the end of that time, they will get rid of all of what's left on the surface there. But they will have their product ready to go out and colonize. And I'm sure they'll be trying a few things around that before then. But what they find out, the type that apparently is more female in appearance, and can impregnate herself, but it will be with an egg that they send, or with eggs they send. And if the way it's explained to me is if that hermaphrodite reaches a place that looks inhabitable and it looks like it's going to support life, then the hermaphrodite will be instructed to take an egg from a jar or something like that basically called it in her jar, which is a reference to Norse legend. And impregnate itself to bear another child to take over, in preparation for when that one dies. And I don't know what the lifespan is, but I know that it was approximately 40 years that it would take to get out into space from here and get beyond, where they would be in space to even go towards planets. And so if that hermaphrodite does not reach a place that is habitable, then it will die. Because there will be no instruction to do this or do that. It will simply be allowed to die. Because there's no use for it. And
their thinking process seems like their thinking, how they think and how they behave is all about just their job, their task, what they're, what they're, like a bureaucrat, you said?
Yeah. That's what is through a bureaucrat. That's part of the kind of genetics they want. That they are done with this group of bureaucrats. They got what they wanted from them, so they want to get rid of them. So, but there will be a complete link that they will have with the brains of these people. A lot of sound in the background there.
Yeah, that was Noosa. I muted him. So.
Okay. So there would be a complete, constant communication that Neanderthals will have with their hermaphrodites. And they will always be instructed what to do. So that's what they want. They want total control. Because the Neanderthals are complete, they're control freaks. They want to control everything. They want control of everything and everything around them, and anything they can colonize in space, they'd like control of the whole universe. So they know the universe is expanding. They know that it's expanding at an ever increasing rate. And from what I've been told and what I understand, they don't want the project happening. Because they don't want anyone leaving, and they don't want their little project messed up. But I also was told that Glenn told me they have to be told. The message has to be delivered to them in person by me. I said, wait a minute. I can't even stand going into underground garages. I don't even like that. That's what the project on the property was in my cot to be built again, except downward instead of upward. That's why Glenn has to tell me, because I don't know how that works. And it's to be built that way because there would be a meeting arranged. And I say they would come they would come up, but we will have to go down. And they will have to be told that this is, what creation says. This is your choice. So
yeah, well, Glenn was always open to talk to them. That was something he said from the start. Like he always wanted to. And at first, he wanted to say, you know, maybe these people need help because they obviously have some type of issues, a lot of issues with themselves. And you want it to, you know, want it to be more of like, how do we help you? How do we come to an agreement, understanding that this can't go on like this? And then, but it was always a meeting, though. It was always centered around a meeting up there.
Now, well, they're supposed to be sitting, but it's down there.
Oh yeah. I mean, up north from us and down there.
Yeah, it has to happen. So obviously, Glen isn't going to be doing that. So this is now what, you know, I've been told for a number of years, probably since 2013, 14, something like that. That seems to be key in all of this. That time that I start getting told these things.
Maybe that's why they deleted 2013, 14, 2009. They deleted that whole, and on the talk show, that whole period of time, it was deleted on talk show.
And I, you know, I mean, I what have I done now? I have arranged to make mortgage payments. I have arranged to pay property taxes. And, you know, one thing that's real interesting is after, I don't know, it was sometime after, right after Glen died, I stopped seeing 9:08. I used to look up at the clock. It happened everywhere. Always look. There it is, 9:08. Mm-hmm. I'd look up on, you know, license, the car would come in front of me. I'd look on the plate. It's 9:08. I'd look on the grocery bill. It's 9:08. You know, it just came up all over the place for me, and it did for years. The one that came after that, the second most, was 11:11. I still don't know what that one's about. But 9:08, constantly. And after Glen died, and when I didn't know what I wanted to do and what I was supposed to do, nothing came up. I realized it had stopped. And then after I did, you know, decided, you know, I think I'm supposed to do this. I think, you know, I feel like that was on February 2nd. And it starts appearing for me again. And I keep remembering that Glen told me for years and years that creation speaks through animals and inanimate objects. And, you know, this is an inanimate kind of thing that I was seeing. And of course, it, you know, through animals as well. But, you know, all of these little things, you know, you start thinking about all of this stuff, and it, so, I don't have, and I guess it is in creation's timing for me to have anyone actually talk to me. And it may not be until I get back on the farm. I don't know. I could be in for the long haul here, which I hope isn't too long. But that one.
I think it's important that you learn, like with the whole biocentrism stuff. I think that's very important. Like you have to understand or overstand like that. You know, it's kind of like I in my mind, I see it like if you don't understand something, then you can't see it. So it's kind of like you got to learn some things so you can see things that may be always there. It's kind of like, you know, how creation works. It's like it's always communicating, but we're not always listening, right? Unless and we have to.
I'm very careful because I don't want to be like some of these people, oh my gosh, this morning, it's not the radio. I put the radio on in the morning, and the channel is carrying Coast to Coast today. So I have to sit there and listen to George Norrie interviewing some psychic medium who said she's an investigator, not necessarily a medium. You know, and then she's talking about all these people that are dead and how they, you know, she sees them and she talks to them, and she said, you know, being at funerals is a really good place to, you know, because they'll be standing around they want to know what other people are saying about them. And she's relaying these conversations she's had, and, you know, which I have no idea if they're true or not. But according to what I understand, I don't know how they could be. I don't want to be like that. And I'm very careful. I mean, I'm also very careful because, of course, this whole thing with David Icke, you know, and I was involved in that stuff. And I, you know, was around a lot of these people that talk on radio, talk, you know, on Coast to Coast. And they have books out and they have all that stuff out. And they're all talking around me. And I'm listening to all of this stuff. And I'm watching the kind of people that follow them. They seem to me to be very histrionic, which means they could feel chills on their spine, you know, and they just know it's true because, you know, they got a cold shiver when something happened, you know, all that kind of stuff. They had a little voice tell them, I'm not into that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
That's so that Madame Blavatsky theosophy. Like, there's a whole section in the internet, in the system, that they have people who just to mislead everybody.
Well, the person that introduced me to David Icke, that brought me around him, he seemed to have an awful lot of knowledge about Blavatsky and her followers. And he was talking about how she named all these spirits after her friends that were alive. So to me, you know, it's all pretty much a scam. From what I understand, the dead don't, you know, they contact you. You cannot contact them. You can stand on your head and wave your feet and whistle, and they're not going to if they don't, you know, that it's a very serious thing, and that you should feel honored if they contact you. And that's their timing and their decision, but also what we have in my case, and this was told to me by Glen more than once, is that right now, you know, there are no women that are like, you know, the cell. That's what they were trying to figure out, you know, from 2011 to, what was it, sometime in 2000, I think he started telling me in 2016, the cell was trying to figure out where, you know, the women that would be the female cell. Well, they're not there because there aren't any. And why aren't there any? Because women are so genetically engineered to an extreme degree compared to men. That's why. There are no women, and that the cell had always, you know, never spoken to women because they're so genetically engineered. Does that exclude me? No, I'm genetically engineered too. And I have things that have to be repaired in me. So, you know, that's something that creation said that no, they cannot speak to women at this point in time. And that, you know, besides which it's, you know, it's something beyond that for me about earning it. It's also that I'm female. So I don't know, but it must be something that creation's looking to see changed in me. But the other thing is, I think Glenn told me before that the cell would not talk to me until I was on the farm. And I don't know quite when that is.
And there's another thing as far as like...
Oh, sorry, I just had a question. What's the cell?
Oh, the cell are people that died, and they had when people die, because they're genetically engineered, there has to be a repair of their DNA. And it has to be a repair of their physical DNA and a repair of the DNA that deals with how you think and do. But you have to consent to that repair. And that's why it was being called, in Catholics have purgatory. Purgatory is a place to go where basically everybody goes. I mean, the Catholic Church knows about all this anyways at the highest levels. They know exactly this whole story about creation. God is not the truth. God is, everyone's got God. Different religions have God. And those are all these groups that have passed down the idea of God to each group. Like there's Shintoism, there's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's Catholicism, there's Baptist, all these Christian religions, and there's Muslim. And other religions I can't think of right this second off the top of my head. That these are all groups that use that to control people. They also are into genetic engineering of people, which means they genetically engineer their personalities. They genetically engineer their bodies, and they can tweak genes any way they want, any time on someone, so that you get cancer. But, for example, they control everything. And Glenn, talked in his talks about this planet being a laboratory, and there were rats in a laboratory, as well as slaves that do our own shopping. And that's, yeah. So that's what that's about. So
Glenn, okay.
I was going to say, this is a battle between a creation and God. God is referenced as a higher power. Creation is the highest power. Creation is God's boss. And what the last thing that Glenn told me, and these guys hadn't even heard it yet, but Glenn, I guess he must have found out, Sal probably told him more. The Neanderthalers that came to creation and asked to run things, because they could do a good job, they said, and creation said, okay, we're women. They were females. And Glenn told me a lot of, the Neanderthalers, not all of them, but a lot of them that live in the Moho discontinuity inside of the earth are women. Are women, right? They're female. So this is an issue with creation. Women have been chosen to be the end product of all of this, and the whole thing is about getting people out into space to explore and colonize, because these Neanderthalers in the middle of the earth know that this planet is going to end. They know that this has to take place, but they can't do it. There's not enough of them. So they created all of everything that happened on this planet towards getting their product out, in space. And towards this end, the U.S. is the one that had the most to do with setting up the ability to get into space. Now that that's happened, and Glenn told me back in, was it 2004 or 5, that billionaires would take over the job from NASA.
Yeah, the military.
They'd stop at some point soon, and that it would be billionaires taking it over, and this is exactly what's happening.
Exactly. That's why you hear about, Donald Trump. He's in the State of the Union. He said that he invested trillions of dollars in the military. He's always put a focus on the military. What?
He himself is a poor billionaire. He's only worth like 3-point-something billion.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the, but he's the one that kind of out of control. He's not going with the program exactly the way he's supposed to.
Yeah, he's not going, from my opinion, it seems like he's not going with the plan as far as the bureaucrats. Because it seems like the bureaucrats, they were out of control, and they just were kind of setting up control just to perpetuate themselves. But it's not about them. It's about the Neanderthals' agenda. And, they can't, the system can't put all that, I don't want to say faith or control to them, because they're not good slaves. They don't listen. They just do whatever they want. And the system has certain plans that cannot be waylaid, cannot be, they cannot veer from the path that they have set out. And I guess the billionaires and everything, they're making sure that it sticks to that plan. I guess that's why you see guys like, like Trump and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. They're all kind of diverting funds, focusing funds on going into outer space, and they're making that that's like a big part of their project, because they got to make sure that happens. That's why you see Elon Musk. He comes out with vehicles that, like this recently, he came out with that vehicle. I forgot what he called it. It looked like something from a post-apocalyptic movie. It was like all titanium steel or something like that. In my mind, I'm thinking it's either for the world they have prepared after the Lu, right? Or is that like a vehicle that they would be using to drive around on other planets?
Well, Trump says Mars by 2030. And also Elon Musk, all of a sudden, the shares for his company have shot up huge. So the system is rewarding him right now and enabling. So he's done something they wanted done, and he's done it the way they want it. And that's what the system does. The system rewards you if you do what it wants.
Yeah, like Nobel Peace Prize and all that stuff, which comes from the word noble. The
whole thing that the U.S. has the shelf life is up on the U.S. and
after
the US
the 70s, right?
Yeah, well, they've got the space. This thing is going, so they have no more use for the U.S. And Glenn had told me about all these bureaucrats. Was it right before he went in the hospital? He told me that. Yeah, not me. He told me that that God was done. Actually, it was last summer. God was done with all of the bureaucrats and not really preventing anything anymore from, things from happening to them or from killing them. That he was over it. he, she, whatever, she, God in reality is Mother Superior. So that's, I mean, I'm just watching all of this right now because I don't know the exact timing for the loop. And I know that every continent in the Northern Hemisphere is going to be having problems, and also parts of Australia. Oh, but it would have helped Australia if they hadn't been, exterminating millions of cats, because creation did not see that kindly. Right, Alex? That was
what do you mean by cats?
Oh,
like actual cats, or
cats. Because that's why you didn't listen to all the recent stuff where I explained, even since Glenn talked about cats even back then in 2011, 9, he was talking about cats. But cats are very important. And I don't know if Jenny can explain all that. That's a long story. But cats are important as far as leaving here. They have a big role to play. But Jenny probably knows it better than me.
I could probably explain it. It's like cats will lead the way because they're the hardest animal to herd.
Well, cats will lead the way because cats actually kept the human race from extinction. The cat was responsible for that. And creation expresses most through cats. Creation communicates through cats. There was actually a communication set up with the cell, and Glenn was a part of it, and they called it the Catmobile. And so they were able to communicate through cats. And what was explained to me is that even the 18th dynasty knew about cats, and they used cats to spy on people. Like the priests would spy on the army, and the royals would spy on their nobility and their bureaucrats. They used cats for that. So that's what cats and Sal used cats in the Kempville area. They used them to spy on, and he listened in on the neighbors around Glen. So
yeah, right, interesting.
With your question before about the cell, I remember Glenn told me with the cell, they are people who aren't buying the bullshit anymore. They're not swallowing the bullshit that's been fed to us for thousands of years, making us slaves, serving, fighting their wars, promulgating their religions, doing all their plans. These are people who, I guess, were Cro-Magnon, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Glenn and myself were Denisovan, which is, I guess, came 1,000 years before Cro-Magnon. So, and then the Cro-Magnon, the seller Cro-Magnon. That's the beginning. But because I'm female and I carry those genetics, I have contained the genetics that go all the way back to hermaphrodites. That's
by the way, guy, in one of our talk shows, didn't Glenn mention that he talked to a nun through a medium, like an intermediary? Did Glenn say that one time?
No, his aunt was a gray nun, and her name was Sister Mary Gertrude. And he came to know about her because of the cell, and then was able to have some short conversation with her because she stands up in front of the entrance to where the trials are and tries to talk to women about what really went on. And what they need to listen to and understand about what was done to them. So that's what that's about. And there was another woman that came up in this time about, her name was Violet. And Violet was somebody who died of cancer. I think she was up in Labrador or Nova Scotia area of Canada or something. And her husband got all of this money after her death, millions of dollars. And she was trying to convince him to, she tried to talk to him to, contact Glen and see how he could help Glen. And he didn't listen. And so she was quite upset about it. So Glen has knowledge of some of that, going on. And the cell, had knowledge of it and talked to them. I know there were some conversations that they had with different people after they died, and some were female, because they will not talk to a living female here. They don't do that. You will not find that that's ever happened.
Well, looking at I was saying historically, like the women, even in the system, like with the Amazonians and Neanderthals, all in history, as far as you can see, as far as Neanderthals have allowed, you'll see drawings of them. You'll see they're talked about in mythology, but the females, right? They're never talked about. They're implied, like a wink, like it's little hints. But I've never, in the symbolism, they're like people who are just don't talk. They're there, but they just don't make themselves known. They hide. And maybe that's just generally how females behave, right? They kind of work in the background type of thing. I don't know.
Women are very secretive. They don't do things out in the open like men.
Exactly.
Okay. They're subversive. Yeah. So
that's it. The cat was agreeing with you.
I mean, I've seen this for ages before I ever, talked to Glen about it. Women are sneaky. That's how they work. And I kind of always considered myself not like a lot of women. I'm sorry, but I can't do baby showers, wedding showers, girl chats, she sheds, lady lairs, all that kind of crap they get together and talk about. I just have no interest in it, and I never did. So they talk about small inconsequential stuff, and that bothers me. Yes, Alex.
Well, a lot of at least with I know, like prostitution and stuff like that. A lot of those women, they would discuss secrets, like the men's secrets, because they were used as like one of the first slaves to spy. I mean, the system had everybody spying on each other. It looks like, but the prostitutes, the female prostitutes, they would be used to spy on men. And I noticed that, like in their groups, those like we call lady layers, they discuss information, and it manifests itself differently in every civilization, every culture. Like in France, they had what you call the saloons. People would get together and kind of like these social gatherings. And it's like that kind of, even in our world, it's, you see like the men kind of have their barbershop where they talk about whatever, and the female, they have their hair shops where they talk about all the stuff that you don't like. Marriage and baby showers and stuff like that.
Even in harems, they ran the show. And yeah, it was a case of they were they had harems, but they had a pecking order and they ran the show. And a lot of times the eunuchs that were there did their bidding as far as what stuff they wanted done, and they had their reach outside the harem. They controlled the kings from within the harem. That's a cloister within a cloister within a cloister kind of thing.
Yeah. That's why they basically sterilized those eunuchs, right? So they couldn't really do anything.
The men were made eunuchs so that they could not, impregnate them or have sex. That was the purpose. Because it was a big breeding operation for genetics. It was all about genetics.
Yep.
And, it's just so interesting that in reality they controlled everything. Mm-hmm. They did it from within the harems, and they did it in, subversive ways, and the men didn't even know that in reality they're being controlled. And that's just, that's the way women work. The genetically engineered women, that's how they work. And if the two guys listening right now didn't know it, that a lot of women in politics, their identifier, at least in Canada and the U.S., is you will see them wearing a string or 2 strings or 3 strings of pearls with pearl earrings. And that is how they identify each other. But I unloaded on some of them when what was happening up in me in Canada, because there was an attorney that showed up that I didn't ask for to see, I don't know what her purpose was. She, they're telling me, the hearing attorney said, I didn't ask for you. She was wearing pearl earrings and a pearl necklace. And I said, you're wearing pearl earrings and a pearl necklace. You're one of the girls. Goodbye.
Yeah.
She left. I think she looked a little shocked, and not in a, like, I don't know what she's talking about kind of way, but she looked shocked that I knew. But I had a good teacher.
How did you know that? Did Glenn say that, or did you read that somewhere? Or
yeah, that's it. Glenn had told me about it, and what he thought was is that pearls, and I think he and the cell were talking about it, is that pearls are about pearl divers. They had, for example, in Japan, women that used to go diving for pearls. They would dive down, and I think it was Polynesian too, but Japan. These women made a living out of diving down to the bottom of the ocean floor to get oysters that had pearls. And they dove at great, really very deep levels and to get them. And it's kind of like that because the pearls that are being talked about in women that are, these are women that have been genetically engineered to the degree that they actually could impregnate themselves if their genes are tweaked. And some of them alive today, their genes have been tweaked and they have given birth without having a man impregnate them. The pearls that we're talking about that it's in reference to are gonads. That's what a string of pearls is about. I'm one, are you? That's about what it's about. I'm one, are you? And that, to see what happens for them to have that type of genetic engineering done is that is the male that's been put inside the female. And that's the plan that Neanderthals have, is for men to not exist anymore as men, separate beings. It is for them to disappear inside women, those genes that make gonads. And
that's why we're called father, fat her, fatten up, fat her, or in Islam it's Fatima, fat I am.
So this is the end goal, and we are in the last 40 years of the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere is due to end by 2058 to 2062. It's give or take 4 years, with the return of Halley's Comet, which may end up hitting the Northern Hemisphere somewhere and end it. That may be the final thing, or some part of it ending things. Okay, and then the Southern Hemisphere will exist for approximately 1,000 years longer, at which time their genetically engineered hermaphrodite is perfected and will be ready for space travel. At that time, they're going to get rid of everyone else, surface of the Southern Hemisphere, and they're just going to keep their creation, their product. And that will be used then to go out and explore and colonize. Because that's the sole goal of that, what has been going on all this time. Mm-hmm. And Antarctica is headquarters. So, and it will be green by that time. Probably a lot sooner than that. But
yeah, so when you look at, like, you hear a lot. I was talking earlier about like trans, and you're hearing a lot about those. Those are people, because in the Bible they tell you that they're actually telling you history, but like kind of like in a mirror image in a sense, because they talk about in the Bible Adam, Eve came from the river of Adam. They're telling you that they're trying to create a woman, a female out of a male. And the process of that reversing, because originally it was man who came from women. But that process of reversing, that's what the 18th dynasty was all about. It was all about reversing that process. And along the way, you're going to have people who are, say that they feel like they're born in the wrong body, trans, whatever. These are people who are just like, I guess, steps along the way. These are people who, like, in their experimentation, you have, these type of people. It's not what they want, but I guess, when you experiment, you have failures and stuff like that. I mean, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but it's along the way, you're going to have failures. You're going to have, and that's what all, creating populations, and it's all just we're just like we're testing material for all types of things, about how, learning about death. How do you kill us so many millions of times in so many different ways? They had to do that to understand what death is, see how we react to this. What happens when we do that?
Yeah, and this is the computer that's like doing this and doing the testing.
But the computer's running, is managing everything and giving like projections. Like, that's why they talk about Joachim, Jachin, and Boaz. Right? One is Boaz is suggesting it constricts, it crunches the numbers, and the other one, jacking, is where you put in the information. So one is like hypothesis, and the other one is the thesis, right? So so you can put in information. So, for example, you say, oh, what happens if I introduce Ebola virus to this population, at this time? It'll say, blah, 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 it'll happen in this amount of time, this many people will die in these parameters. And they can have long-term 1,000-year-old plans, millennia-year-old plans that they plan for. And that's a big reason why, everything is about with their rituals and the equinox and all that stuff. It's always on specific times, specific days. You just look at the coding, because it's just one big matrix. It's a computer system we're kind of living in. It's a matrix. And that's why it's so numerical and I mean, for the people in the system, for them, may be it's a religious thing, but the reason those days are important because it's all according to a plan for a system. That's why when they choose to do something, they never do it out of line. They always do within the bounds of if something's happening in the stars, it always has to fit certain parameters because they can't go outside of the plan. That at least that's how I see it.
Sounds pretty good to me. But you got it.
Oh, somebody else is asking to join. Hold on. Oh, he thought it was 9 p.m. Oh. All right, I'm just giving that information to somebody else. CST, what's that? Central Standard Time? Is CST Central? CST, is that Central Standard Time? Right? How many hours is that?
1 hour.
Is this 1 hour? Oh.
Yeah. Wait, you're calling Zach in?
No, I think Zach's on, right? Zach's been on with Dana. Dana, you there? With Zach?
He's three-way, but Hey, Zach is in. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay.
My cousin.
Maybe you can put your email or whatever social media and in the chat, or because I know Dana was looking at that. He actually was working on that talk where Glenn talks about cellular memory, the cell. And
yeah, there was another one, where Glenn talks about the first time that he understood that there was something more going on because he got they took him on a ride.
Oh.
So, and then every time they put inside a house he didn't recognize, and every time he stood up, he was outside. He told him, I have to pee.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That was in 2009.
Yeah. That's when he first figured out that these people weren't even human. They're not even human.
Well,
he didn't.
They're human, but they're dead.
They're dead. Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't know exactly what to call it at the time.
Yeah, because at the time he called them security people. They were his security. That's what he understood them as. And then I guess over time it was.
What Glenn? Was that what was possible before genetic engineering?
Like what? The cell. There've always
what
been
Glenn was
cells.
when Glenn was learning those abilities
to communicate and do stuff with the cell. I was just asking your more crude form when the hermaphrodites are around.
I don't know.
By the genetic engineers.
I don't know exactly when the cell members apparently seem to be always 26. And I know there are other cells because there's an American branch and there are 26. I know that there are some in other countries. I don't know much beyond that because I guess I don't need to know. But they've been around at times in history, tweaking things that have to be done. Now, Glen has 700 lives. And so he's been here that many times throughout time. I have a 37. And the way that it was explained to me was that Glen was coming so often to set things up. And I come in to make the big change. And so mine would be intense, but his would be, sounds to me like his were always intense to me. So if Glen was here, Cell was here. And it doesn't mean they were the same cell members. That, and I don't know. But, when people go to purgatory or purgatory, as they call it, to clean out their DNA, they are approached for some reason. They're picked and approached and asked if they will go and work, to help out what's going on. And in this situation, I believe over the last 9 years that there were times, Glen had told me a few times that some of them weren't there anymore because they'd earned their right to go on. And so they weren't there. But he had recognized some of the cell members from his life. And I think one of them was his uncle, who was the head of the Canadian Mint, or had something to do with that, the Canadian Mint. So
right. It sounds to me like when people first hear about this stuff, they think that there was like a really powerful technology that made ancient people smart, but it's like backwards because the system makes you think backwards. It was like just people's genetics weren't being manipulated, so they were naturally like in tune with reality better. Whereas now that seems weird to be in tune with your reality today because we have technology to instantly.
There were very advanced technologies in past ice, before past ice ages. So there always were advanced technologies, and all the technology that we have comes from inside, and they let it leak out and be applied here at certain times. But from what I'm told, the cell find problematic even using cell phones because what they've got is so far advanced that cell phones are like the wheel. So some of the stuff here they have a problem with because it's just way behind what they have access to. Plus, I believe they have a lot of, if they don't have perfect speed, they've got the nearest thing to it. So they seem to have the ability, even though they talk about traveling from one place to another, they've done it by car here. They still have the ability, it seems, to be somewhere instantly. They have it. I don't know how, but none of that's been explained to me. It's just from stuff that Glen has said over the years and stuff that came up that happened when I was on my way to Canada, when I was in Ogdensburg, when I was on the farm, when I was in jail, And when I was sent back here, and stuff would come up, and there would just be certain things that Glenn said, and I might ask a question or two, but I try not to ask too much because Glenn always felt like he had to tell me, and it might be something that he didn't want to say over the phone. So I had tried to not to make him go into a lot of explanation, but it was just stuff he said.
Yeah, I just saw, noticed that we have another person to join the call, Jason. I think it's Jason from New York, right?
Yep, that's Jason.
How you doing, Jason?
I'm good, man. How's everyone?
Observe, analyzing, concluding.
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
So I just realized Jason happens to be from New York as well. So I don't know if you want to introduce yourself for people.
Sure. I guess I kind of came in to contact with Glenn's work through, it was like one of the, it's like one of the forums, like one of the like online forums. This was probably back in like 2012, 2013. And I was just something where I'd like kind of clicked on the link and had gotten taken to a page with a lot of the content. And I kind of was just reading and absorbing information. And I know one thing that Glenn talked about was things happening over time. And, you know, they're just things that would happen at, you know, different points in time. And it's just like, you know, you can't even, like, I'd kind of want to say something about it. But even if I did say something to anyone, it was kind of like I would have to give them that information. They'd have to read it and process it in order to even kind of comprehend what I was seeing. So it was almost it almost became a situation where for me, it was just, you kind of wanted to hold everything to yourself. But then I kind of just realized at some point, you just kind of have to just release the judgment aspect and just kind of be able to look at things completely objectively, which for me was difficult at first, but I feel like it's become a lot better now. You know, seeing that obviously happening to Glenn was, you know, to me that was tough because going through that information, it kind of just confirmed it. It was just, you know, you're just kind of going through content and information and just kind of absorbing it. Like I have like little cousins and nephews, and you know, I kind of want to show it to them, but they're teenagers and, you know, early 20s, and you know, for me, like this happened over time. I'm 34 now, so I probably started looking at the stuff at 25, maybe. But it's just something where it's just kind of like you kind of just take it a day at a time. But you know, things that'll happen. I think Glenn was one point where he said, you know, it'll happen, you know, 3 times over your lifetime, and if it happens that many times, it kind of shows that your brain works. It's something like that. I kind of probably misworded the phrase, but it was just something where it was just, you know, like, yeah, it's just like I don't kind of want to ramble on the call because I know there's like, you know, people on the call.
Well, it's a process, right? You're definitely right. Like when I first learned about this stuff, when I first was hearing about it, it was very painful for me. Yeah, to know that we were all made to be slaves. That was something that was kind of difficult to accept, and it just made me question the meaning of everything. And it, you know, he's right. It's a process. Like you can't, like when you're sharing this information, it's not like sharing today's news where you say, "Oh, this happened today," and they read it, and that's what happened today. This is like you're kind of looking like everybody is sharing it. Where you're like, it's like I'll see you in 5 years when you process all of this. Because a lot of it is you have to process it, you have to see it happening. You have to actually do the work yourself and research. And it's something that it filters out a lot of people in that process. It filters out people who are just want instant gratification. Because this is not how, I mean, at least that's not how creation works. Like how Glenn said, he said creation reveals its secrets over a long period of time. You know? And that's with everything. That's just the principle I see in everything.
What have you guys been
Yeah.
I think I kind of called in kind of late to the call.
No, Jenny was talking about with Jennifer. That's Glenn's wife, Jennifer Kealey. I just Irfan. He's from Australia. He's on the call. Jennifer's in. Jenny, there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
And we have Musa from I think Michigan, right? Musa's from Michigan.
No. Windsor.
Windsor,
Michigan.
Ontario. That's Ontario, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
cross the border a lot, so for work.
Okay, and we were supposed to have somebody else, Andy, but it seems like I don't know. It might because he's from Scotland. I think right now it's like really late for them. And oh, by the way, I don't know where you've been getting like material from, but I've been uploading a lot of the material onto YouTube because I don't know if you had access to TalkShoe, but TalkShoe, we were from like 2009 or even before then, we were putting talks up there, but TalkShoe they deleted what it looks like. It looks like they deleted everything from after 2015. Like they deleted everything back from then. And so what you'll see on the TalkShoe is from 2019 to 2015. So on YouTube, we're uploading me and Dana from New York as well. We're uploading talks. So you can go on my YouTube channel. You can find all that material there, and on that YouTube channel is a link to another YouTube channel where it's like basically all the. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but I'm starting off for like the oldest and putting all that stuff in one place. So I'm trying to put it all in one place because it seems like a lot of people are learning this, but they're like listening to a group of talk because there's a guy named Mike. I guess he saved a lot of the old talk, and a lot of people are just working off of that. They just stuff from years ago, and it's been ongoing for many years. I don't know if you knew about the stuff from 2019, 2018, 2017. There's a lot of stuff there will kind of, I guess, answer a lot of questions and fill gaps. Yeah. I didn't hear from you, Dana. I haven't really heard you talk that much.
Yeah. I'm doing a good job.
I don't want to talk too much.
So where in New York are you from?
Who, me? Oh, I'm in Harlem.
Yeah. Oh, Harlem? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there another guy from Harlem that we talked to? Or was that you? That was you.
That was me.
Yeah.
I called one.
Right. Wow, it's been how long ago was that?
That was probably a couple months ago, maybe a year.
Yeah, that was not a couple months. Yeah, it had to be at least a year. Or... Yeah. Oh, That's right.
What are some of the books you'd recommend to read, or that you've read that you think that's helped you?
Okay.
What have you been reading?
So I've started reading like Will Durant's like The Story of Civilization. I'm reading like a bunch of books at the moment. Let me just open up my PDF files. I read like Hoffman, Secret Society, Psychological Warfare, Carol Quigley, Evolution of Civilization. Reading Tragedy and Hope at the moment. Secret Teachings of All Ages. Reading through that as well. Yeah, I've read like a bunch of other stuff. I don't really. Oh, like the history of the Rosicrucians. Yeah.
Yeah, when you read all those books, like those secret society books, like the Rosicrucians, Masonic material, basically, you'll see that they all like lie to each other. But I found, or they lie to their own people. I found that what was helpful was reading like those Masonic books, like the encyclopedia. Was a really good read. When you read that, right, you become familiar with their languaging, and then when you become familiar, you learn those lessons and you apply those same lessons to like reading everything else, reading like mythology, religion, religious books.
Yeah.
You know, but that is a process. You see, it's unfortunate because on the farm, it was the whole purpose was to learn by osmosis. It was a quicker way than going through the books, going the book route. Because the books it takes a lot. It's a lot longer because you're reading. There's so much garbage in there in those books too, as well as certain facts, the information that's good. So you're basically being a sculptor full time. Sucking out garbage. And
did you ever hear the talk? Encyclopedias are a good start. Friend?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No. What did you say about the encyclopedias?
Yeah, Masonic encyclopedia.
Yeah, before World War One, it's the best. So before like anything before 1917, 14, 17, like that time period, and before in the 1800s, you can get them on eBay used. Free Masonic encyclopedias. It can range anywhere from like $40 to $500.
Right. Okay.
Just see what they have, and I guess what'll ship to you and whatnot. But
because a lot of those books too are expensive. Like I've seen books for like $1,800.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need like the whole set. You can just get like a good 1,000-page one, like a one volume. You don't have to get but it's also whatever they have. You got to see what they have because they're antique books, right? So.
Yeah, Robert Good is one. He makes an Masonic encyclopedia. Albert Mackey, he makes. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. That's a really good read. But like with that book, with those, when I read that, right, like I read that when I was just finding out about this stuff. What I read there was interesting, but when I came back years later after learning, about Glen's material, I saw the book. It was a different book. I saw it completely different because they speak in this language that's just you can't take what they say to the letter, or maybe you can at times. That lawyer language, but it's all coded, and that like being on the farm, staying at Glen's, like you could apply that. Like you see what people say, it means things that have dual meanings, maybe triple meanings of what they say, events that happen in the world, And Jenny's, is used to that. She looks at the news and events, and that's how it is. Like when you look at an event, I've noticed how Glenn would do it. It wasn't like a single event, and you were able to determine all this meaning out of it. It was a stretch of events over a period of time. It's like it's a mosaic. You know, that's what this stuff is. It's a mosaic, and you're adding pieces here. And I don't think you can ever get all of the pieces in a whole lifetime. But what happens is that the picture becomes clearer and clearer till you're able to formulate an answer.
Jigsaw puzzle.
Jigsaw, yeah. And part of it is in your DNA, you know, like just using your intuition and going back in time, and at least it was for me, you know, how I was able to grasp some things I knew was like intuition, you know, something with the past and just seeing like a picture.
Marry it with your book of life.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I was just saying earlier with the Neanderthals, I was looking, if you do the search of alien cave drawings, pictures of aliens and cave drawings, and you'll see pictures of Neanderthals in like Australia. I guess they lived there for a while. Australia is one of them. I think Europe, you'll see pictures of them like as they really look.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the media will say, "Oh, these are aliens. Look at like it's these people with like no jaws, a collapsed jaw, big eyes, they show them big heads." That's how they show them on these cave drawings. And I pretty much can figure out like what they look like. I'm not sure what color they were. They describe themselves as gray. I don't know if that's true. You know, gray people. Yeah.
Beige, gray, pale.
The grays. The pale?
Because if you're living in a place for thousands, tens of thousands of years, where you have less gravity and you don't have light, and it's only some kind of artificial light that's pale. Okay, so your eyes get bigger, and your skin gets paler, and because you not have gravity, you're evolving to change to a much smaller body. In your mouth, you're not eating the same kind of food any longer, so you're eating something else, and you're not eating animal, and you're not tearing meat off of something or chewing cruciferous kind of vegetables and so on. Then your mouth gets smaller, and maybe you have very tiny teeth or no teeth. So what do you end up looking like?
Like that.
What people call aliens.
Intraterrestrial.
And the thing is that when I was busy still in my programming and being used by David Icke, etc., and that's what the media wanted. And I would run into these people that talked about all these aliens, and then it never failed. I got posed the question, well, what do you think? And where do aliens come from? And my answer was very unpopular because for some reason I knew they came from beneath the earth, and I couldn't put a finger on why did I know that. And I would tell them that they're not from outer space; they come from underneath the earth. They're in the ground. And it didn't, people pretty soon As soon as I said that, they just like go somewhere else. Or they didn't want to talk anymore because you don't know anything.
Yeah, because David Icke was redirecting. He was telling people something completely different.
Well, yeah, he was talking about reptilians.
Shape-shifting and stuff like that.
I get people that, like recently, a couple people email me and insist on that they know that that's true. And one in particular knows that's true because he's talked to people that can verify it. Yeah. Really? And, everything that I said to them, it was, well, you must have read some books or something or heard something. And I told him, no, my source is the cell. And, I didn't get into that anymore with him because I'm not interested. I'm not here to try and convince people that this is real. I cannot. And that's not my job. And I've also been told by Glenn, that's not your job. You're not here to convince people. I can't convince anybody of anything. And people have to make up their own minds. And I've also been told that some people are going, a lot of people, as a matter of fact, will be so genetically engineered that they can't get it.
Mm-hmm. And I see that. I see that.
I was so programmed for that David Icke interview. It was like, well, because as soon as I, did those interviews, and then, within the next few years, I start to question, why did I even say that? Because that wasn't even my experience. I went to David Icke when I talked to him about things that I knew about, which that's not what I knew about. And the things I knew about at that time were the ritual activities that were going on in Orange County, California, and how I had been involved in those. And I got, kind of worked up before that by the person I was staying with, that it turned out he was associated with MI6. So this is the story that MI6 and the media wanted out. And David Icke is media. He was a sports broadcaster, and he was a member of the Green Party. So, and he was an MI6 asset. So that's what he does. And he's got a lot to answer for in creation when his time comes, and it will, for what he did. I don't know if he's so programmed that he doesn't know whether he's coming or going, as I know he was experimenting with drugs and South American stuff. I don't, and he's a huge ego. He's got an absolute, that man is a huge ego.
Yep.
So,
everyone worships the guy. There's so many people who, in Europe at least, who believe in that stuff.
I mean, so I can't speak to that because I don't.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, so his name, right? His diversion. Other way around is hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you gotta ask me the question.
Hello?
Are you asking me or are you asking the group?
Okay, I'll ask you a question. So the reptilian rules that David Icke talks about, is that related to how Glenn talks about the dragon or Draco or the Dennis? Hello?
There are no. That's a complete lie. There's no reptilians. There is.
No, but I'm saying it's an allegory for the dinosaur.
It's not. I mean, I didn't even go there. Allegory. What's what? They might have some kind of allegory in all their little groups about that, but I'm not concerned with this because I'm concerned I'm concerned with the fact that this is a lie put out to lead people away from the truth. And the truth is that creation made the universe, that this is one of 26 universes that are side by side in a circle, that are football shaped. We are in the fourth one of them. And this is the first universe in which humans made an entrance. I don't know about the first three, but humans weren't in them. And that this universe is damaged beyond repair because of the actions of the people that want to control everything. And they introduce genetic engineering and control things. So it affected everything to the point that the universe is now expanding at an ever increasing rate. It is out of control. It is ruined. It is tainted. It is broken. So creation wants to take everyone out of this universe that never damaged, had anything to do with that, and leave it for the next one. Now, the people that have already died, of which there are 7 billion, are simply waiting further forward in this universe. They're further forward in it. They don't know how further forward, but they're still in it, and they're further forward. And that even had to be cleaned out. And I guess I don't know where the process is, but it started last year that they started removing nuns from that because the nuns had the key to control it and were letting in their own and granting favors above the people that deserved to go there. So it messed everything up, and there was a backup. Basically, they plugged it, and barring people from going there that were supposed to go there. And it backed everything up. So you have all of these people that died that were waiting for entrance and couldn't enter. And I think that maybe that's still going on, and they're still in process of cleaning everything out. So, but at the very top of everything here, nuns have had all of the control. They have the ones on the surface that work in conjunction with a Neanderthal or women or females or whatever that are running it. They are being cleaned out. But this universe is no longer something that creation feels can be saved. So then you have all of these people here that, the whole thing to them is, they're going grocery shopping. Well, let me collect this amount, this from this person talking about stuff because I like that, but I don't like that other stuff. So I'm going to take this with me. I'm put it in my grocery cart. Oh, let me go talk to that person. We'll put that in the grocery cart. I like what that one said. I'm going to put that in the grocery cart. And then they add into it to support what they want to believe is going on. I'm not interested in talking to any of them because I'm not there to be grocery shopped. Glen was not there to be grocery shopped. This whole thing that Glen was talking about, and I'm trying very hard to carry on what I've been told has to happen, is not about grocery shopping and pick and choose what you want and discard what you don't want. You either go with it or not. It is, like what Yoda said, no try. It is do or do not. So, creation does not share anything with God, and these other things belong to God. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there is no religion on this planet that tells the truth. It lies to people. It's there to control people in every way that you can think of. There's no, type of philosophy fits into the same bag. Politics fit into the same bag. And creation is the boss of all of them, and creation said, I'm done. No more. Because it's getting down to the home stretch here. And God is getting ready, whatever you want to call God, getting ready to do everyone in. Because God never told the truth about anything except promising war, pestilence, famine, disease, disasters, all of that God promised. And all of that God has done. So it's basically the last 40 years here. And, the way I think is nothing else is acceptable to me as far as what I want to be involved with and what I want coming out of my mouth. Because I don't, how can you talk about stuff you don't believe? You can't. And you could if you want to be a hypocrite. And it takes time, to get to that place. It isn't something you just jump into and say, oh, because I had a hard time with some of this when I first started hearing it. Believe me. It was a real hard reality check for me. And there isn't anything that says that you just accept something. You have to go through a process. You have to process it, and you have to be in a process. There's no way that you can just jump in and say, I get it.
Yeah, you have to give it time to mulch. You gotta give it time to mulch and just, I guess, don't make any snap decisions of any of the information here. You gotta give it time. No instant gratification. Right? Creation not about instant gratification.
I mean, geez, I have a lot to learn, and I have days, where I'm just like anyone else. I have days where I'm like, oh, this is rough. And I have other days where I get it. So.
Jennifer, what does double S stand for? You said double S is kind of what they used to call you or something.
It's a gently curving double S. It's in the Desdemona Code. And I don't know. I think that's the best picture that I can get is when I put on the WhatsApp. They're trying to explain. Glen told me back in 2011, it's not an S. It's kind of a gently curving. It looks like an S. He told me that represents me in the Desdemona Code. And he wasn't able to tell me exactly what it meant or in what way. He just knows that represents me. I don't know what it means. I'm not sure. I don't, I'm sure some things will be explained to me at a later time. There's a lot of things, but right now I don't know.
There's two double S's, right? There's that S in the Desdemona. But I also saw, S as in shape-shifting. Like Glenn would use it. SS.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's two that kind of curve like an S. That's the representation. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. The other is something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not an S. It's like a another symbol?
I don't know what it means. I just know that gently, slightly curved F. The two are representing me. And I don't know, Glenn wasn't also sure if it didn't represent me and some other female. So I don't know. He used to have a thing about the farm where he said in the end, something about two females will, care of ladies takes all. And sometimes he thought that was in reference to me and this other woman who has her name on the farm paperwork. So I'm not sure. I don't know. He wasn't sure that was his idea. Maybe that's what it is in reference to. But I don't know, because sometimes he thought maybe it might be my daughter. But we're not sure about that one either. So that one, not sure. Don't know.
Okay.
If I knew, I'd tell you. Alex, no, Alex. I'm getting yours, okay? That one, no.
I remember thinking the other day, too, that Perfect Speed's acronym is PS, and that's what you put at the end of a letter. I don't know if there's any significance to that.
I was kind of worried about another reason having to go back to the farm was that, and I think you probably did it, Zach, but on that farm, there was some type of like a donation, like coins. You put coins towards helping, and it had something to do with helping the dead, right? Helping the people who have lived already. And it was like, I don't know if you went up there. You went up there around that time, didn't you? Did Glenn talk to you about it?
When I went, wait, I'm having a little trouble hearing what you said. Something about going to the farm.
He's asking if you put the toonie in the bucket.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember doing that. No, I gave him $70, and then he said, everyone.
Different.
Yeah, no, I didn't put the toonie in the bucket. I wish I did now. I wish I also had gone
the whole
into the
thing
house,
about the vertical
I didn't want to be
garden.
rude.
The whole thing about the vertical garden and all of that that was about like the dead. That was all linked to that. I don't remember. I gotta listen to that talk again. But.
Oh, the dead. So you put the toonie in the bucket for the dead.
Mm-hmm. And the garden and the vertical garden that he wanted to do was linked to that.
My cousin, my like 2 or 3 year old cousin, just told me he saw my dead grandpa in the sky the other day. It's interesting.
Oh. Do I sound clear? I heard I sound muffled or something. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
What happened? What did you say?
Who are you talking to?
No, I was just talking to anybody who could hear me. Because
I can hear you, but I'm keeping mine on mute because while you're talking, I'm doing things, feeding cats, cleaning up dishes, getting ready to keep cats outside.
Okay.
Jennifer, where do you work? Just curious.
Well, I work in Southern California. I'm in Southern California. Hold on.
I'm having trouble hearing her.
Okay, I work in a Alzheimer's facility. in Southern California that happens to have a name that I've been told is very important. Glen said that in 2020 that you will all see clearly why. He's been saying it for like nearly 3 years. You all see clearly why all of this happened and what's going on. And then he added to that, because I think he's been talking with the cell, that you will have a clear view. The place that I work at is called Clearview. And the road, or the highway that goes up, I guess, from south of Flushing, New York, it goes up there, and that's where the roof is supposed to hit all the way to Flushing, New York. It's called Clearview. So for this time right now, Clearview is an important.
Very important.
Yeah. But you will have a clear view. You will have, in fact, I was listening to one of his talks where he was talking about walking in a field and then dropping into a hole and getting back up out of it.
That was the one I was talking about. Yeah. Freedom for the non-living.
Point of view of people. And that, you see things from where you are, and that you only have a certain point of view, and you have to be able to see everything that you didn't see in order to understand what's going on, understand and overstand what is going on.
Yeah, he said that that's what life is all about, a point of view. It's all about, I guess, different points of view. And I'm in the middle of the transcript for the talk, and he says right here,
and the question then becomes, does creation want to repair the problem or allow them to destroy themselves? So they came and said, this is our last chance. Nothing happens if creation says you don't do it. But if creation says, these people are too stubborn to live into a world of sanity, and therefore let them kill themselves. Let them destroy their planet. It's happened before, and it might happen again. How do they destroy the planet? Well, at one time in the past, an asteroid coming out of the sky cleaned off what was there and started it over again. Another example of the world as we know it disappearing. Well, we're on the verge of creation's decision. And we've been given an opportunity to grasp the concept of a clear view. If we don't, creation makes its decision based on that. If we do, creation makes a different decision based on that. 34.2 acres of land set aside for a knowledge center that would go from the cat to the end as we know it, and the new world of overstanding for a cataclysmic event in each and every part of the world based upon these people are not repairable. They sold their rights, their property, their life in return for a bowl of fish stew, which is all that's needed for a person to swallow and choke. And you don't have to pick up a spoon because it'll come in our direction. And if we don't, then this piece of property may just end up being the target of a big, big rock coming in from space that would begin a process similar to the one that killed the dinosaur. It's basically been put in mine and your hands to see if there's a way for people to participate in a project that in 2020, as with the optometrist who makes my glasses, would tell me I will see clearly. Well, we need to build glasses of the mind so that our mind is no longer confused by the education it received solely from our eyes, our nose, our ears, our tongue, and add into that the part that is there but is not seen because of the fact we're not looking. And we're not looking because the media controls what we look at and what we know and keeps silent about what it knows that it should have shared long ago, but hasn't. My job, as well as managing this 34.2 acres, is basically to feel the pain and realize that cold is much more damaging than anything else. And that those people that continue to cause us the trouble shall be penalized in a manner that can best be explained by the lifestyle forced upon me without the privilege of friends like you. And Jennifer will receive, or has been told that or told to me to tell her that she will have the privilege of pardon, which will be taken away from Mother Superior. And therefore, she also is being put through a ringer, if you want to call it that, a terrible situation where she is made to deal with people who have lost their mind, who are often violent, and who she is in contact with on a shift-by-shift program. And is forced to work under the conditions of go to work at 7:30 in the morning, or go to work at 3 in the afternoon, or go to work at 11:30 at night, and do it with this group.
And that's basically what I'm got up to in transcribing. But I thought that section was important in what he was saying about this Clear View project.
But now they've killed him. Now they murdered him.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not very smart.
But I think we still have to learn. We still have to. I mean, they kind of tried to hinder our learning process, because I remember Glenn saying that, it's all about learning. And that's the most valuable thing you can do in this life, is learn. And they'll try to stop you from learning. Keep you working a job where you're working so many hours and you don't even come home and you're tired. And what do they make easily accessible to? The TV, and programming you with what they want.
I'm tired and I like painting and I can't. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm dealing with people all day that I'm trying to help, trying to make, things good for them while they're here, and they are dying from an imposed, genetically engineered illness that takes their mind away, and it imprisons them, and it takes away their health.
Yep.
And I watched them go downhill. So they're already downhill from when they come in, and I see it get worse. It's hard to watch.
I know exactly. I had to see that with my dad. I had to just basically sit there and watch him die slowly in front of me. His mind don't even recognize you anymore. He'll stop talking.
Apparently, creation has said that the people that have given Glenn and me such a hard time, that to come, the coming years here, that there are a number of them that are going to get Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's and other associated dementias, that I can think of another one that's really hard, which is Lewy body dementia.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's LEWY, Lewy body dementia is devastating. And it basically, shuts your whole body down in stages. It shuts your mind down. It shuts your body down. It kills you. It's not dying of old age with dementia. It's a dementia that kills you.
Yeah, I think that's how they've covered it. Kind of people associate it just with old age, but really it's just they don't want us learning from the past, because usually older people they can see that this is a scam. This is a scam because they lived it. They saw what happened. Because everyone, usually people in every generation, they just know their world and what they see, but they don't know things were different in the past. So they don't know where they're going. They don't see where it's going. They can't see where it's going. It's sad.
Yeah, and I don't, some people, when they get dementia, they were very nice people, and they get the dementia, and it affects their brain in such a way that they become mean, really mean.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that get it that are the opposite. They become the opposite. They were nice, or they were mean, and they become nice. But a lot of people, they know what's happening to them at first, and that to me has to be torture.
Exactly. That's the worst experience to see it, to know your mind is breaking down before your very eyes. Like you're experiencing that. That's cruel and unusual punishment. And they do that to people who are insiders, right? Like I think then they do that to Reagan and Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they're not killing you with cancer, they're killing you with dementia, or you getting Parkinson's, which is going to lead to that anyway. But the Parkinson's disease is associated with that. These people, they end up, have to be on medication because they get, and the same with Lewy body dementia, they get psychotic. They have psychosis going. Other people, they get violent. Some more than others. It depends on which area of the brain it affects.
My dad started taking the medication, and when it became like noticeable, because he would, in the beginning stages, he was very like nasty with people, yelling at everybody at the top of his lungs. I remember one time he would blame me. He would, he was always losing stuff, and he would blame me for taking and stuff or something. Like he came to my job one time because he had like a book of all the music CDs and stuff. He came to my job looking for his CDs. Wow. And then he started taking them. Yeah, he thought I took it. And then when he started taking this medication, it totally affected his speech. He couldn't even, it was hard for him to get a word out. He was just kind of like stuttering.
Yeah, there's no answer with medications. They just try to improve some things, but there's side effects. If there's no winning combination, there's no win-win with any of it.
I'm sure they have I'm sure at some level they have the antidote, right? I'm sure at some level, right? Like, but they probably keep that to themselves, or
probably. But I don't think they're going to give it out.
No, they're not giving it out. Yeah. Another suffer.
We are lab rats here, so.
Yeah.
They need their answers.
Do you their what?
Need their answers.
Yeah.
Gotta have answers. just like, all these people that work in labs and they, I found out, like all these people who are doing research on the organism that is excreted from cat poop, and it's in the litter boxes, toxoplasmosis. And so they did a study for years in the U.S. where they got hold of cats. They went to the shelters and picked up cats that were having babies. They infected all these cats on purpose. They've killed thousands of cats over this. And they infected it so they could see how it lived out its life cycle in the cats, because the cat is the only animal in which this toxoplasmosis gondii can live out its cycle. So they were always killing the cats at the end of it, but not before they put them through hell being infected, and they were not treated, and what it did to them. And they treated them like they were nothing. I ran into somebody who told me, I got a cat from the lab because we kept cats he was a doctor, and we got cats, and used them for vivisection, and we did tests on them. They were the test subjects. So I got one because I wanted to save it because it was a special cat. Well, they're all special. But they don't think anything of that. They don't think anything. This is what we have, now that they can turn on their feelings and turn them off for creatures. And to me, of course, it's horrific what they do to cats. That's what people are like. And so they don't have feelings, too much for any living creature. People, cats. So why wouldn't they use people to research for all kinds of diseases? And purposely make sure they got it. And then you have the insurance companies on the other end that are basically controlled by nuns, as they are the largest group of shareholders of insurance companies on the planet.
Yeah, with the nuns, I heard, I think it was in that talk where Glenn mentioned that, when they came here and, founded America and everything, set up this government, those people broke away and said, why are we paying you this money, right? And they basically said to keep it, they're told to keep it to themselves over here. But then what they didn't realize at the same time, the nuns were setting up a system to take that money and steal it. And I guess that's where you have, the term deep state where that comes from, right?
They're the ones that set the nuns are the ones that set, the mood. Don't pay out for this or that. I think there's an actress right now, Shannon Doherty. He was on Beverly Hills 90210. I never watched it, but I was reading about this in the news the other day that their house was damaged beyond repair in the Woolsey fire down there in Malibu.
Yeah.
But she is suing the insurance company because they decided they paid enough on their place. And she has found out that she has stage 4 breast cancer. She had it before, and I guess it wasn't stage 4, but now it's back and it's stage 4. And she's suing the insurance company because I don't know what they paid, and she probably had a pretty darn nice place living in Malibu. But they made the decision that they're not going to pay, and so she's going to sue them for that because she said, I have no place to live. I have stage 4 breast cancer now. And this is contributing to my state of mind right now, and I'm dying. And I mean, you can look at it that way, so that's insurance companies. that's what they're like.
That was their number, 777, right? For insurance companies. They're the gamblers.
Yeah.
In the talk.
777.
They're the gamblers. They always win.
Happens to have everything to do with Ontario Provincial Police as well. But it's interesting because we found out in some of the stuff that was going on with me that the nuns up there in a place in Ontario were basically listening in on all of the OPP's activity stuff. And so the Grey Nuns, to be exact, and that Glenn tried to tell this one investigator who was supposed to be investigating my complaint and decided to not investigate it, and that what happened to me was of no importance, really. It wasn't any big deal. That them coming on the property and basically assaulting and battering and kidnapping me was of no consequence. But they have the OPP have the same numeric designation, 777, as the insurance company in nuns. So, hey, how about that?
I've seen that number, certain addresses, like corporations, like businesses.
It was coming up a lot in January with all those disasters too. It's very interesting, that number.
Yeah.
Gotta wonder.
You see this code everywhere. Like, I know a place. When you start a job or something, usually they ask you to drug test, and they'll take some of your DNA, and that's usually subcontracted to certain businesses. In a building I went to, I had to go, pee in a cup to these people. It was a place near my house, and the address was 1010. 1010. So this building gets DNA from everywhere. And that number 1010 or 0101, however you want to look at it, that's binary code. That number is supposed to be like the language of the new slave when it's communicating with the computer. This technology the computer utilizes or whatever, it's apparently the telecommunications. It'll be able to communicate with it from, I guess, millions of miles away. I guess to do that, they'd have to understand something. And maybe linked to what the cell uses to communicate. Maybe something they learned a long time ago. That computer is, when I was learning about it, because when you think about that, like everyone has like these medulla control mechanisms and then the neck. But there's a part of that medulla that's directly linked to the computer. And it's kind of gathering information on everybody. Millions, billions of people. All who have these medulla are linked to this computer. And it's learning. I thought that's crazy. Thought about that. Yeah.
He's all still here.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's still here. Like 7 people in total.
I think Irfan's gone.
Yo, what?
Irfan's not here now. I don't see him here.
Oh yeah, he is gone. Yeah, it's been almost 3 hours. You know, I set the thing up for 3 hours.
So you want to talk more, or you think it's better we move on?
I think eventually, yeah, because when people listen to this in the future, I learned like when you look at something on psychologically, when someone looks at a talk, right, and they see 3 hours, that's not something they're gonna be too excited to hear, to listen to, because
So you saying
3 hours looks intimidating to someone who's listening. Usually, people want to listen to an hour and a half. You know,
okay? Sounds
maybe
good.
2 hours at best. But,
Reasonable.
so, I mean, I'm glad that we all got to do this. I like to do this again, but I guess we can't make it frequently because you see, it's difficult to get everybody together. But maybe if we have my headphones are about to die anyway. Maybe if we had like a regular thing.
Yeah.
I think there is a possibility.
I didn't hear what you said. You said you think what?
There might be a chance. Oh yeah. Do you remember this guy named Person Lights on YouTube? I think he had a video about Glen's material. So, if you don't watch, explain to me the 19 out of 20 thing that Glen was talking about, or something. The 19 rules of the universe, or 20 rules.
No.
In any event, the group that moves out of here must be chosen in the next short while. The process of identifying those people who should be put on trial to choose whether they move forward to the waiting line to move out, or are, as suggested by the use of the term they fall under, take one step back, repair some of the problems they've created, and then join the group. What's the name of that, Jared?
Karma type cleansing?
I beg your pardon?
You said karma type cleansing, that work that they do?
Yeah, it's a cleansing that they do, but they come from a place called purgatory.
Yeah, they purge the Tory.
They purge the Troy, they purge the royal, they purge everything that created the problem from themselves, while at the other end, religion and the Tories working together basically cleanse you of your sensitivity and your ability to think about more than yourself, while they put you back in circulation through genetic engineering, suggested by the Hindus and the Buddhists who prepared this project after the Ice Age.
And they infect, that was interesting how you described it. They infect with like gene pools.
Yeah, they've infected and infested the gene pool that has existed since the Ice Age with the story of Adam and Eve. The Roma, who were the Aborigines and became, in fact, the gypsies of the world, whether they are described as Berbers or people of the kind who basically move their gene pool to different places around the world as aboriginals, meaning out of the original, therefore not themselves original, but out of the original. That's the change described by the Australian version, which is Aborigines, to the Roma, centered in Rome, who are Aboriginals. But in fact, all of them were genetically engineered and given information by creation at a time back in time before the Ice Age, that transfer of information was done in a manner where creation provided 19 rules and regulations to running a universe. Out of the 20 it possessed, leaving the 20th to the current population to figure out. And if they did it right and followed the lead of creation, which was evolution, they would have achieved their intended consequences. But because they chose to short-circuit it by genetic engineering and the use of magnetic force against gravity, they, in fact, made the wrong decision at the beginning. And every day that went by, that 1/20th or 5% rule expands in its angle or angel stretching out. So instead of having angels that were there at the beginning, they have archangels, starting with Noah's story of the flood, which is like Adam and Eve, like Abraham and Sarai, like Jesus and Mary, all stories about genetic engineering. The story of Jesus is, of course, the story of someone who accepts to take blame for others and therefore is a scapegoat. The human beings of this planet are accepting to take blame and take ownership of the bad things they've been programmed to do, rather than stopping in their tracks and saying, mass murderers who were nice guys yesterday and bad guys today, when they went into a schoolroom and killed a bunch of kids, are bad people. Rather than saying, what in hell was this person programmed with that causes them on demand to reverse their personality and go about and do bad things, totally out of character? Who programmed this person? Should be the question being asked, rather than jumping to the conclusion that you're dealing with a bad person. And everybody in the history of the world since Adam and Eve have been told that they are bad people and that they have to be treated as bad people. And what's, the Scottish music, bagpipes that they play at funerals, reminding them of what they used to be and what they are, unless they accept the fact that they are bad people in need of cleansing.
No, it's 19 out of 20.
Yeah, that one.
You can find
Which one?
in France, right? In French, like that was like in the coding, it links you back to France. In France, like that was like their way of doing like math. It was 19 out of 20. But 19 out of 20 is basically referring to the system. Like when they do their testing and everything, they get like 19 out of 20 right, which is pretty good if you think about it. But since this is creator God, they don't get the full 20, right? Because they live in the fourth dimension or whatever. So like they make mistakes. They always make mistakes because they don't know everything. So that's what it's linked to. That 1%. That 1% is creation, and that's all it needs. That's all it needs.
It needs. But that makes sense. It's 1%, right?
Yeah, 1% is creation. It's like Jenny and Glenn, how they would explain like how what happened.
No, I'm saying 19 out of 20, so that's 95%. That's 5% remaining.
Yeah.
They mean 5%, not 1%.
Yeah, I guess I mean is that how you read it? 19 is if not 1%, it would be 5%.
Because 19 out of 20 leaves 5% remaining, or is it 1%? I'm not sure.
If it's 5%, then it's 5%. Yeah.
So okay.
Hold on a minute. I gotta connect my hello? Yeah, my headphones. Yeah, so 1%. I guess 1% of 5%.
I can't hear you.
I said you can look that up. There's a YouTube channel called Number File.
Okay.
NUMBERPHILE. And they talk about 19.
Okay, good.
All right, I can find it. And I can probably, when Glenn was talking about it, I think I have, what'd she say? Her phone disconnected. Jenny's phone disconnected.
Oh, what happened? She just left, or?
She said it disconnected. Anyway, I'm probably gonna get off myself too. I mean, it's 3 hours, right? That's enough, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think I guess we should all keep in contact. Everyone, I guess, email like your WhatsApp, and I don't know, Jason, if you want to. I don't know if you use WhatsApp. Musa, I guess I gotta ask. Yeah, just I guess email me or put it in the chat or something. I don't know.
Look out for those videos when they come out.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty. It looks like it's about to come up to the 3-hour mark.